Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets. Or you can subscribe to the channel and click that notifications button and get a notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Before I start, I know a couple of you are probably going to moan about the camera. I apologise. I had to send that last camera back. I've ordered a better one and even better spec. A couple of you were happy with that camera, but I had too many issues with it, with the colouring, the wide field of view that I couldn't zoom in. It just wasn't for me. So yeah, point is, I've ordered another one. I promise you, when it's all said and done, I will do my utmost to make the product as visually, enjoyable for you guys as possible. I'm trying. Give me some time. There is something exciting coming up though for the channel. I'll let you know over the next couple of days when it's confirmed, but something that I'm really excited about, and I'm sure that subscribers will be excited about. So I look forward to giving you some of that news moving forward. Today I want to talk about a little roundup of things that I found interesting this week. First and foremost, let's start with Bob Arum. Bob Arum has given an interview where he's spoken about Terence Crawford and Eroll Spence. He gave this interview with IFL, and he said that basically he wants the fight to happen. Crawford wants the fight to happen, but Spence doesn't want the fight to happen. Now, that's nothing new, right? We hear this all the time. One promoter saying, my guy wants it. No, your guy doesn't want it. It's my guy that wants it, and so on and so forth. But what you don't often hear is what Bob came out to then say. He said, I believe Al Haymon wants the fight. It looks like Al wants the fight too. It's Spence that is the stumbling block. I find that interesting. I've not come across that before, I don't think. Maybe you guys have. It's the first time I've heard it. Now, what do you think about that? Do you think that's true? Is it Spence that's somehow afraid of taking that risk? I'll put my cards on the table. Personally, I don't think Eroll Spence is afraid of Terence Crawford. I don't think Terence Crawford's afraid of Eroll Spence. In the sport of boxing, it's a business. You want to maximize what you can get. It's a risk versus reward factor, and those things can come into play. But if I think of this logically, and I don't want people losing their minds now, because one of the things I find the weirdest when it comes to boxing fans, I get how fans can become sort of fanboys over fighters, because a fighter might be like your sports team, your football team, your NBA team, your NFL team, whatever. You support them with everything. You become biased. You'll never let them down. You'll never back. I get that. But what I don't get is how people get so affiliated with promoters. That I don't get. Okay. They're networks. Who cares? What are you talking about? I just want to see the best fights, right? But there are some people that seem to get really emotionally attached to certain promoters. Before you guys lose your minds, just hear me out. For me, what makes the most sense is that it's Al Haymon that would have the most to benefit from blocking this. Not Bob Arum, not T-Bud, not Spence, but Al. Why? Because it would be a great power play. Bob Arum, in my opinion, has handled Terence Crawford terribly. Hall of Fame promoter and all that, I get it, fine, for all the Bob Arum fans out there. But he's handled him terribly. This is a guy with pound for pound level skills, who's undefeated for however long, who's a very likable guy, who's likable in a manner that transcends demographics. Because you get a lot of people, particularly in the US, I don't really see this in the UK at all, but in the United States, there are a lot of fans that seem to be very caught up with the concept of race. And we're going to get onto that in a minute, because we're going to talk about something that's happened with Deontay Wilder and Efe Ajagba. But a lot of fans seem to be caught up with race an awful lot. And to an extent, I get that. I mean, Canelo Alvarez fans, Mexican fans, why shouldn't they be proud of Canelo? Why shouldn't Filipinos be proud of Manny Pacquiao? Well, by the same token, why shouldn't African-American fans be proud of their fighters? Deontay Wilder, Terence Crawford, why not? So I get that. I understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes it can go a little bit sort of over the edge. If you look at some of Deontay Wilder's fans, some of the things they've said, it can cross a certain line. Okay, it becomes sort of the central focal point to everything, and everything's sort of portrayed as almost this race war. You don't get any of that with Terence Crawford. And he's liked by African Americans, Caucasian Americans, not just Americans, globally. He's liked. He's a liked guy. He's a nice guy. He's got a personality. He's a bit quiet, but when you get him on a microphone, you get him talking, he's got a personality. And he's not afraid to speak his mind on some key issues. Go out there and research and you'll know what I'm talking about. I really like Terence. He could have been a superstar. He could have transcended the sport. The fact that he hasn't is whose fault, Bob? You can sit there and you can moan, because what has Bob done? He's moaned publicly about the fact that he has to pay Terence Crawford a certain amount of money and he's not reaping those benefits. But whose fault is that, Bob? Why haven't you turned him into a superstar? You're the promoter. That's literally your job. He's the fighter. He hires you to say, listen, promote me, turn me into a star. You've got to go out there and make it happen. Instead, by publicly mocking him, or not mocking him, complaining, he's created a situation where there's not much time left on that contract. And Terence Crawford seems to be very, very upset at Bob. Now, I don't know whether Al Haymon would be able to then poach T-Bud when that contract comes to an end. Or maybe he'll just move to another promoter. Maybe he'll go to the Zone. Whatever the case, it strikes a bitter blow to Top Rank. It strikes a bitter blow to Bob Arum to lose a guy with pound-for-pound level skills who could be a star if he's promoted right. So as a power play, it would make most sense to me to see Al say to Spence, listen, we've got some fights for you here at PBC. Good fights. Not Spence, but they're good, solid fights. We can make you some money. Even that rematch with Sean Porter would be a quality fight. We'd all watch it. That first fight was a humdinger. Why wouldn't you watch a rematch, right? So let's just slow our roll, chill out, let his contract expire, then we'll try and get him over here. That's the power play. Let me know what you think. Am I overanalyzing? Who do you believe here? Is there a specific fighter avoiding the fight? I don't believe either one of them scared of the other. Or is it the promoters who just can't agree and they both want to make the fight and it's just a case of funds and things like that? Or do you think there is a power play at play here? Because one person that definitely wants this fight is Bob Arum. 100%. Because if he leaves Bob, Bob's all about that cash. If he leaves Bob and Bob misses out, he doesn't win. So that's something you've got to think about, you know. Bob Arum and his position in this sort of scenario, it would suit him to make that fight happen. Now, moving on from that, let's talk about Deontay Wilder. Wait, before I talk about Deontay Wilder, one more thing that he spoke about. There were purse bids going for Kambossos. They believe that they can make the fight now, and he said Kambossos and Teofimo Lopez, and he said it looks like it might be in the US now rather than Australia, which is a shame because if they were able to get a lot of fans in Australia, it would have been a monster fight over there. But something that's happened, there's been an interview on Fight Hype because Bob Arum came out and said there have been people that have been getting in the way. Fight Hype, Devin Haney's father, is said to have tried to make a bid for the fight. Michael Benson, I've not seen the interview yet on Hype Fight, but Michael Benson, the journalist, has spoken about it and he's copied it into one of his tweets. And he says Devin Haney's father, Bill Haney, has claimed that they're considering making a bid with their company, Devin Haney Promotions, in the potential purse bids for Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambossos Jr. February the 18th. I love that. Because listen, that shows that Haney wants this fight. It shows that Haney wants the winner. And I'll tell you why it shows that. Because if Haney goes and wins that, or regardless of who wins that fight, Haney will be ringside if his dad wins the purse bids. If Devin Haney Promotions somehow were able to win that somehow and be able to host it, well, you just know that Devin would then be getting in the ring post-fight, demanding a fight, right? So it's a really clever move. Even if they don't win it, it suggests intent. They might be bluffing. It suggests intent. I like this. Clever little move. Seems like there's a whole bunch of power plays going on right now, which I'm liking. Behind the scenes chess moves. Let's talk about Deontay Wilder. Now, Deontay Wilder has been called out by Efe Ajagba. Now, for those of you that know Efe Ajagba, he's a very exciting heavyweight, very heavy-handed. He has looked a little bit vulnerable. He had some wobbly leg issues and he didn't recover particularly well from a big shot. And if I'm not mistaken, it was in his last fight against Jonathan Rice where he got dropped as well. But he is 14-0 with 11 knockouts, a very heavy-handed guy. And Efe Ajagba, who is African, has taken some sort of offence to what he perceives to be Deontay Wilder essentially trying to jump on a bandwagon, so to speak, trying to win over African fans, trying to make out like he's proud to be African when Efe Ajagba doesn't believe that he is. And so Efe Ajagba came out and said, I don't know why Deontay Wilder would post a video saying he's an African giant. How is it possible? Wilder just remembered Africa after he lost to Fury. Just because he lost doesn't mean he should change who he is. If he had beaten Fury, he would not have remembered Africa. Let us be honest to ourselves. Now, what he's trying to say here essentially is that he's trying to essentially trying to invigorate a potentially new fan base. Now, Efe Ajagba, he wants that fan base for himself. So he's basically saying to him, you're not a true African. You might be African American. You might be proud of your African American heritage, but don't make out like all of a sudden you care about Africa. This is what Efe Ajagba's saying. I'm not, in fact, Deontay Wilder would strike me as a man that would actually have an interest in his African heritage. He's what you would say is a patriotic African American. That's how he comes across. And many African Americans who are patriotic in that sense do like to look back to their roots. Muhammad Ali was such a fighter, right? So I'm not undermining personally what Deontay Wilder says he feels. I'm just talking about what Efe Ajagba's saying here. Now, with Deontay Wilder looking essentially to come back somehow, he's looking for a fight, we're led to believe. If he is looking to come back and he's not looking to just quit and step away from the sport, I'd love to see this fight. BoxRec rate Efe Ajagba, the Nigerian, 22nd in the world. Imagine that fight in Africa. How cool would that be? That would be superb. Efe Ajagba's a very heavy-handed guy. He might appear vulnerable for sure, but I'm not sure how much that matters, because even when you're not vulnerable and you can take a shot, like Dominic Brazil, it only takes one shot of Deontay Wilder to take you out. So it's not like there are consecutive heavy-handed shots that aren't knockout punches, but they're heavy. And if you're chinny, you're not going to be able to handle them. He'll clean your clock regardless. So then does it really matter if he struggles to recover? He wouldn't recover anyway if Wilder lands flush on his chin. So what becomes more interesting is the fact that he's a heavy-handed puncher in himself, in his own right. He's also big, 6'6", just like Wilder's big. He believes in himself, and he'd be looking to put it on Deontay Wilder. To me, that's interesting. To me, that makes me look at this and think, oh yeah, I'd watch this fight. What happens if it's a Ajagba that's landing early? And what happens if Wilder's confidence is shot? What happens if a Ajagba can put him on the back foot and he can't find that leverage to throw that right hand? It's a terrific fight, but a winnable fight for Wilder. He could get hurt, but it's a winnable fight for Wilder. And because Ajagba was so highly rated prior to his last fight, it's a good name to have on his CV. I know Ajagba's still sort of climbing the tree. Like I said, 22nd ranked on BoxRec. He's not like a superstar name. But because he was so highly rated, it would be a very good confidence-boosting win to come back. Dangerous, but a good fight that I'd like to see. Let me know what you think on all the topics we've discussed today. Who's avoiding who and why when it comes to Crawford, Spence. Bear in mind, you might have felt that in the past one fighter was ducking one, and then in the, now it's another fighter, and you might have changed your mind on these things. Let me know the reasons why you've changed your mind. Let me know what you think about Lopez, Kambossos, and Devin Haney, Bill Haney, Devin Haney's dad, talking about purse bids for that fight. I find that really interesting. And Wilder Ajagba. If you are African, by the way, or have African heritage, I want to know what your view is on this as well. Do you see Deontay Wilder as in the way that Ajagba sees it? That, this is a guy trying to take advantage here, trying to play on the ethnicity of people to try and build up a fan base in a manner that is not genuine? Do you think perhaps he is proud of who he is and he wants to build that fan base regardless of whether he'd beaten Fury or not? Is it possible that Ajagba is just sitting there thinking, you know what, I want to be the star of African heavyweight boxing. I don't want this guy to come and take away my limelight here in this continent. So let me know what you think, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully the next time I bring a video, it will be with a better camera. But it was supposed to arrive in 3 days. So I ordered it for that reason 3 days ago. And then I got an email to say it wasn't in stock, so they had to order it, which would take a week, and then another 3 days on top of that. Can you believe that? Horrendous stuff. Horrendous customer service. Anyway, please be patient. I do have a video that in mind that I think you'll enjoy, and something on the horizon as well that I think you'll find really exciting. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. God bless.